Hello everyone. Now we'll start looking at the toolbar. The toolbars are basically the topmost bar, the horizontal bar which you see mostly in all the apps, though it is not a necessity to have, but it is highly recommended that you have a toolbar in all your apps. You must have seen the top horizontal bar which has got some kind of title written over it. You have a button here also which you can use to drive any actions that you want to, and there's also this button which is there. Most of the times people use it to design the settings. The user clicks on this button and the settings are shown. So, and this is a typical toolbar. You can make a lot of changes in these, and a lot of good apps, they also have a hamburger icon here. We will look into it and we will basically see what all can you do with the toolbar, because it is not just a header bar which is there, which you can just keep like that only. It is like assuming that you have worked on, or you have used a lot of web browsers. You know that at the top of the browser, any web browser that you use, there are a lot of things which are permanently there, and you can utilize them whenever you want to, right? So in a similar way, the toolbars also have this tendency, or they also have this capacity to make your users feel more empowered while they use your app, right? So let's see what exactly can be done with the toolbar in the Android Studio. So in the Android Studio, before we start discussing the layouts and all, let me show you how do you get the toolbar, ready-made toolbar, which you can customize as per your likings. Uh, there's another way to do it, and that is, construct the entire toolbar on your own. Go to the layouts and start constructing your own toolbars. We will do it, not right now. Android already gives us a facility known as the blank activity that we can use to get a defined or predefined toolbar which we can customize as we like it, right? So to make a new project, I'll go to new project, and here let me write toolbar demo. Next, and here this is what I'm talking about. This is the till now we have been using the empty activity. You can continue using empty activity and construct your own toolbar, but we will take the other route, because when Android has already given us this facility, why not use it? So I'll choose basic activity here. Earlier it used to be called as blank activity. Now they have renamed it to basic activity. So you click on the basic activity and click on next, and you have the new UI here, wherein now they will be asking you about activity name, layout name, title, and main menu resource name. So for time being, just click on finish and create your new project which has a predefined toolbar inside it. As my activity finally opens, this is the basic activity that we have created. Let me just introduce you to this basic activity. This is the same kind of activity like an empty activity. The only difference is that you have two layouts here which are already given to you. The content layer main XML is very similar. In fact, the same thing which you have been seeing till now, right? This is the layout on which you used to work till now, and have the entire activity as per your liking, the way it should look, right? Now let me show you another layout here, activity underscore main. And here what has happened is there is this host of other widgets which have been thrown at us. I don't know why, but let's see what exactly each and every one of these widgets do, right? I will not talk about coordinator layout because its primary function is to be there and coordinate everything. So there is nothing much to discuss here. Just pay some attention to these two. This is basically the entire toolbar gets managed through this widget. All right. So if you wanted, you could have gone to an empty activity and typed everything like this. But as we grow as an Android developer, we want to now start outsourcing some part of our work, which is primarily just writing down something which has already been designed, right? So we save our time on such stuff. So this is the entire toolbar which you see here. All right. And if you look at this line, this is the basically including a layout which is at layout slash content underscore main. This is the same file here which is being given a reference here, because this entire activity underscore main has a lot of other widgets, but it also contains the content underscore main. All right, so this is the entire content underscore main, the hello world screen which we discussed here, is already present inside the activity underscore main. All right, so these two are very much related with each other. And then finally you have a floating action button here. This is part of advanced UI which Android introduced some time back. So basically there is a button which keeps floating, and if I were to show this to you, I will go and I refresh the layout and everything is fine now. So this is the floating action button which I was talking about. Now this is part of advanced UI. Now you can move this button to this place also, anywhere that you want to, and it gives a good a UI or UX to the user of your app. All right, so now let's see what is there in store for us in main activity.java. And you see that there is a huge code already given to you here, unlike the case when we used to deal with empty activities. And we will see what exactly this code is all about. There is this toolbar that has been declared and defined here. All right, there's a method set support action bar, and this toolbar object has been passed as an input here, right? So this toolbar is finding the view by id r.id.toolbar. If I were to go there in content underscore main, because sorry, I'll go and check activity underscore main, because like in empty activity you have activity underscore main here. I'll go here and I'll find out that the toolbar here also has an id slash toolbar, right? So now what we can say is that that toolbar is getting defined here, and I'm giving it as an input to this method. Here in floating action button I'm creating an object, and so basically these toolbar and floating action button are again classes of Android which you can use, typecasting, and finally find view by id r.id.fab. All right, so there is nothing very different here. The only thing is that you get to see an advanced UI here, and how do you start handling it. So right now if you go and start running an app which is just a basic activity and there's nothing else that you have added to it, and you click on the floating action button, you will get to see something called a snack bar. What is a snack bar? Snack bar is the next or better version of a toast message, because in toast message you get to see only a toast a message which you cannot do anything else, but in snack bar you get to see the message, as well as there are a couple of buttons which you can use. Of course we will be tackling snack bars also in future, but for now I'm just telling you what all is there as part of advanced UI which Android has introduced. Now there's another method here which has been overridden, and it's called on create options menu. This is the same menu which you get if you click on this button. All right, so if you click on this button, there is this drop down which appears, and whenever I click on those buttons or the drop down components, then something will happen, and what will happen, that will be decided by this method, right? So if you just go through these two methods, you can clearly see that what is happening here is I am trying to in the first method I'm trying to tell my Android what is the menu that will show up whenever a user clicks on the three buttons there, sorry, the settings button there. And in the second method, what I'm doing is I am telling what exactly should happen when my user clicks on one of those components of the drop down. Now let me make some changes to these messages here so that we run this app and we get to clearly understand what exactly will happen if we click on these advanced UI buttons. First, what I'll do is I will change the floating action button here. If I were to replace this message with hello. Now if you pay attention here, you will see that there is this reference to r.menu.menu underscore main here, right? and now we got to figure out from where is this menu getting fetched. If I were to go to this resource folder, res, and see that there's this folder here, menu, and here is this XML also, menu underscore main, right? So because I chose the basic activity, I get to see the menu also here, which was not the case when we used to choose the empty activity. I'll click on menu underscore main, and I see that there is already some kind of XML that has been given to me, and this is nothing but the first component. This item is the first component which shows up when I click on the button here, the settings button. Let's call it settings button now. And now the obvious question is, can we increase the number of items that show up? And the answer is of course yes. Otherwise, what is the point in having that button when I can only show one? So I'll copy pasted this, and I'm going to now make the relevant changes. For title, there is the settings here, and I will change the title to settings 2, settings 3. So now we can safely assume that when I click on the button now, I should get three components of that menu now, right? Now, what is the ID? I need not explain now. Order in category. Order in category is nothing but basically a number which you have to assign to these items. So, which basically help you to decide what will be the order of these three items. So, if I were to put here 3, 2, and 1, the order will be, this will be the first item, the second item, and third item. So my, if I click on this button now, settings 3, settings 2, and settings 1 will show up, right? And what is show as action? Show as action is, if I were to consider a situation wherein I want one of these settings to show here, because I have some space here and I want them to show here, like this button has been shown here, right? Can I have another button here which is part of the settings? Yes, you can. And how do you do that? You go here, and instead of show as action, you type if room. One option is if room, and another option is always, right? So I will give three different things here. One is always, second is never, and third one is if room. What if room means is, if I have space here, right? So every time when you launch an app, you cannot really figure out if your user has a big phone or a smaller phone. So you have an option if room there. If the screen size is huge and we can afford another button here, then that button will appear. Otherwise, it will definitely stay inside this settings button also. So like we have made these changes, and now let me go to main activity, and now we are sure that we will have the three settings showing up whenever the user clicks on that button. And now let me go and start making these changes. Now what does this method do? I think it's self-explanatory, but we will surely discuss it. What it is doing here is, what I'm trying to figure out here is, which settings have you exactly clicked. So once I know that the options have been clicked, options item has been selected, then which the item have you really selected, and based upon the item that you have selected, I will do some actions. So here what I will do is, I will put a toast message here, which will basically give me a toast whenever the user clicks on the first settings. right? And after this we will do the same thing for other two settings, which you can see here. I copy pasted it and made the relevant changes. Like here it's toast dot make text settings 2 and settings 3. And let me just confirm that I have put this right things here: settings 1, settings 2, settings 3. Their IDs are settings 2 and setting 3. You can check it here, and yes, these are fine, right? So now this is all fine here. Now we can now run this app and see how does it look. So once I install the app, I get to see that my toolbar demo, the title of my app has restricted itself, and you can see that it's now showing up as only toolbar dem 3 dots, and then you have settings 3 and settings showing there the way it is. So what has happened is that the settings 3 was marked as if room and settings was marked as always. So settings has shown itself as always, and then settings 3 also made room, and that's why it is showing up there. The automatically the name of the title got restricted. We will see how we can make sure that the name of the app does not restrict itself. And if I click on these three buttons, settings button, then I get to see that only settings 2 is showing up, right? And if I click on settings 2 now, you can see the toast message below. Settings clicked will show settings, and if I click on settings 3, then settings 3 gets clicked, right? Now there's this pink button at the bottom right corner. If I click on that, then this is the snack bar which Android has now. It appears, it shows you the message, hello, you just clicked floating action bar, action button. And I can also, like we will discuss it later, you can also put buttons here if you want to, which gives it more functionality than just being a toast message, right? Now what I will do is I will make some changes in the if the settings menu, so that we get to see all these three settings as a drop down here. Not only settings 2, settings 1 and 3 should also show up. Now let me make always as never. And see how does it look. Now as you can see here that the settings 3 and settings button is not showing up at the top, and the title is showing here clearly. And if I click on the three buttons, the settings button there, then I get to see the drop down which has all the settings here. If I click on settings 3, then settings 3 toast message comes, and similar thing will happen for others also, right? I want you to focus on the order of these three settings, 3, 2 and 1. The reason is because we have put the order there as such, and this follows the same order which you saw there, and we already discussed the floating action button, right? So now let us move to our next lecture and see what all do we need to learn for advanced UI.